You're fired, effective immediately. Are you sure?
The floor was moving fast. Keyboards clicking. Phones ringing. Heels striking tile like a countdown nobody could stop. Then Brianna Moss stopped walking. Right in the middle of the hallway. She turned. Pointed. And everything went quiet. You. The word hit like a slap. Danny Reeves, no. Delete that name. Nora Clegg stood at the far end of the hall, both hands wrapped around a mop handle. Gray uniform, hair pulled back, eyes that gave nothing away. She looked exactly like someone nobody would remember. That was the point. Brianna walked toward her. Slow. Deliberate. Each heel strike a tiny execution. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Because everyone on this floor already knew the rule. The unspoken, bone-deep rule that kept everyone employed. Never stand next to someone who's losing. Brianna reached out and tore the badge off Nora's chest without asking. She let it hit the floor. Effective immediately, Brianna said. You're done here. Nora looked down at the badge. She didn't pick it up. She didn't explain herself. She lifted her head slowly, and when her eyes met Brianna's, there was no panic in them, no tears, no trembling lip. Just one question, quiet as a held breath. Are you sure? Brianna laughed, the kind of laugh that means this conversation is already over, and turned away. She had no idea she had just made the last mistake of her career. No idea at all. The notification hit one screen first, then another, then 12 at once. The sound of it, that soft, triple chime the internal system used for priority alerts, rippled across the floor like a stone dropped in still water. People stopped mid-sentence. Someone's coffee mug froze halfway to their mouth. Wait, is this real? The voice belonged to Priya, a junior analyst 2 rows back. She wasn't asking anyone in particular. She was asking the room. Brianna turned around. Her expression hadn't changed yet. What now? Nobody answered her directly. They just kept looking at their screens. Then slowly, one by one, they looked at Nora. Not with contempt this time. Not with pity. With something closer to dread. Brianna crossed the floor in 6 steps and pushed herself in front of the nearest monitor. She grabbed the mouse. Scrolled up. Read. 1 second. 2. The smirk dissolved. She scrolled down. Then back up. Then down again, like maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something that made sense. 12 employees worked extended hours over a 6-week period. None of it was logged. None of it was compensated. A voice from the back row. Trembling but clear. We reported it. Another voice joined it. You told us to stay quiet or start looking for new jobs. Brianna spun around. You stop. All of you just stop. Nora's voice dropped lower. Not a shout. Something heavier than a shout. The room obeyed it completely. Brianna's mouth was still open, but nothing came out. Nora tilted her head just slightly and looked at her the way you look at something that's already over. You weren't exposed because you made mistakes, she said. She let the silence sit for a moment. You were exposed because you believed no one in this building would ever dare look you in the eye. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. And for the first time since she'd walked through these doors every morning in a gray uniform, Nora Clegg was the tallest person in the room. She opened another file. Emails. A chain of them, time-stamped and threaded, stretching back 14 months. Names. Dates. Specific instructions. In writing. A staff member near the door leaned in and said softly, almost to himself, "That's the real internal mail system. That's not a copy." Nora didn't take her eyes off Brianna. You wrote it. You sent it. You signed off on every single one. Brianna shook her head. Her voice cracked at the edge. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You knew exactly what you were doing. The silence that followed was the thick kind. The kind that fills a room like water. And then click. Every monitor on the floor switched at once. A single line appeared across all of them, white text on a dark background. Administrative access. Locked. Someone jumped up from their chair. Wait. The whole system just... What? Brianna moved toward the nearest terminal. What happened? Override it. Someone override it right now. Only a board-level account can unlock it, Marcus said quietly from the corner. He didn't look at Brianna when he said it. He was looking at Nora. Nora stood completely still. No explanation. No expression. The shock moved faster than any words could. Brianna looked left, then right, then at the screen, then at the faces staring back at her. Faces that used to belong to her floor, her team, her authority. None of them looked the same. What are you doing? Her voice was fracturing now. What is this? Nora looked at her, calm in a way that was almost frightening. Closing what you broke. Brianna stood in the center of the floor. No access, no allies, no angle left to play. Her hands were shaking. She probably didn't know it. I can explain this, she said. All of this. It's more complicated than it looks. And if you just give me a chance to. Nora raised one hand. Not a dramatic gesture. Just enough. Brianna stopped mid-sentence. You're not losing everything because of me, Nora said. She stepped closer. 2 steps. Slow. You're losing it because of how you treated people you decided didn't matter. That sentence did something. Something visible. Brianna's jaw tightened, then loosened. The argument she was building somewhere behind her eyes just fell apart. An employee stood up near the window. Kayla. She'd been with the company for 4 years and had never raised her voice in a meeting. You made us change the numbers, Kayla said. You told us if we documented what actually happened, we'd be written up. Another voice. Troy from accounting. I have the messages. You sent them from your direct line. One after another. Voices that had been swallowed for months, for years, rising one at a time. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just true. Brianna turned in a slow circle, like she was searching for someone who'd come to her defense. The room was silent. Not the silence of people who were afraid. The silence of people who no longer were. Brianna's voice dropped to almost nothing. You're all turning on me at once. This is coordinated. This is. No one is turning on you, Nora said. They're just finally saying what happened. Brianna clenched her fists. I can fix this. If you let me have access back, I can fix everything. The payments, the reports, all of it. Nora looked at her for a long moment. The longest moment in the room. Some things can be fixed, she said. But some things aren't problems. They're consequences. She turned toward HR. Tara from HR had been standing near the back with a folder in her hands since the 3rd email appeared on screen. She stepped forward now. Termination is effective immediately, she said. Her voice was steady. Please review and sign. Brianna stared at the paper. No. Wait. Just wait. Not yet. Nora's voice. 2 words. Cold enough to stop everything. She held Brianna's gaze. This doesn't end here. Legal has the full file. Every altered document, every withheld payment, every recorded instruction you gave to falsify records. This will be handled according to regulation. Brianna went still. For the first time in years, she had absolutely nothing left to say. She signed the paper. She walked toward the elevator. No one watched for very long, because the story was already over before she even reached the door. The floor was quiet. Not the quiet of a room holding its breath. Something different. Something that felt like the first clean air after a long time of stale. Nora turned back to face the room. No podium. No title on a lanyard. Just a woman in a gray uniform who still hadn't picked her badge up off the floor. I know why you stayed quiet, she said. A few people looked down. Not because you agreed with what was happening. Because you thought you had no choice. She let that sit. Starting today you do. And no one in this building, or any building, has the right to take that from you again. No applause. No moment of cinematic triumph. Just people. Some of them standing a little straighter than they had an hour ago. Some of them making eye contact for the first time in months. Some of them quietly deciding something they hadn't decided before. Nora looked around the floor one last time. Then she walked back down the hallway. The same hallway she'd walked every day. The same fluorescent light. The same sound of keys and monitors and the HVAC system humming behind the walls. Everything looked the same. Nothing was. At the elevator, she paused. Didn't turn around. Power isn't about standing above people, she said. Her voice just barely reached the ones behind her. It's about what you do with it when you're standing next to someone who has none. The elevator opened. She stepped in. The doors closed. And the floor stood still, not out of fear, not out of confusion, but because every single person in that room was doing the same quiet thing at the same moment. Thinking about which side they'd been on. And what they were going to do differently now. The office looked the same in the days that followed. Same desks. Same lights. Same rhythm. But conversations that used to get swallowed got spoken. Things that used to slide past people's eyes got named. Not because everyone suddenly grew brave overnight, but because they'd watched something happen. They'd watched a woman in a gray uniform stand in the middle of a floor where no one would have bet on her, and refuse to disappear. And once you see that, it changes the math on everything. Nora didn't make a statement about it afterward. No press release. No speech to the assembled staff. She did what she always did, showed up, worked through the problem, put things back where they belonged. That quiet was louder than anything she could have said. Because that's the thing about real authority. It doesn't need the room to go silent when you walk in. It's felt in what you do when the room is loudest. When everyone is watching someone lose. When the safe move is to look away. The badge was still on the floor when they found it the next morning. Someone had placed it carefully on her desk.